On my 18th birthday, my sister screamed in front of everyone because I wore a designer dress Grandma secretly bought me. "She doesn't deserve that," she yelled. Then Mom spilled something that changed everything and I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. I just turned 23, and this story happened 5 years ago, but I still think about it often. My sister and I were talking the other day, yes, we're speaking now, kind of, and it brought back memories of what happened that day. I didn't know where else to put this, but maybe someone here has gone through something similar. The summary, as you'd hear it over awkward family dinner conversation. Me, you were so angry that day, Delia. Like, you looked ready to set something on fire. Delia, because you showed up looking like you stole a scene from Vogue. I didn't even know Grandma knew about designer brands. Me, and then you screamed. In front of like 40 people. Delia, and then Mom decided to drop a paternity bombshell like it was a gender reveal party. Me, I thought I was adopted for a second. Delia, I thought I was adopted. Turns out, it was worse. Me, and now we laugh about it. Kind of. When we're not pretending it didn't ruin everything for a while. So, here's the full story. It's long. And dramatic. And real. And yes, I still have the dress. I was never supposed to be the center of attention. That was always Delia's job. She was the older one, the prettier one, the more accomplished one. If we were characters in a movie, Delia was the lead actress, and I was probably listed in the credits as girl holding flowers in background. Growing up in Eugene, Oregon, in a 2-story home that smelled like lemon cleaner and old books, our family looked normal. Maybe too normal. My dad worked in IT, my mom was a nurse, and everything ran like clockwork. Birthdays. Christmas. PTA meetings. But there was always a strange tension in the air, like someone holding their breath under the surface. Delia was the kind of girl who wore mascara in middle school and got invited to high school parties before she was old enough to drive. I, on the other hand, spent most of my time sketching in notebooks and reading art history books in the library. I didn't mind being the quiet one. But it came at a cost. I often felt like a ghost in my own home. There was only one person who ever really made me feel visible, my Grandma Sylvia. She wasn't your typical cookie-baking kind of grandmother. She was opinionated, sarcastic, had a jewelry collection that would make a minor celebrity jealous, and had retired in a quirky condo out by Cannon Beach. Every time she visited, she brought me something. Not expensive things, but meaningful things. A pressed flower from a trip she took to Ireland. A used copy of a biography of Frida Kahlo. A little leather-bound journal with my initials on it. She told me once, when I was about 14, your sister has the audience, but you, darling, have the soul. I didn't fully understand it then. Now I think I do. My 18th birthday was coming up, and I didn't expect much. My mom said we'd do a family dinner, maybe rent a little community space if people wanted to come. I hadn't had a real birthday party since I turned 13. But out of nowhere, Grandma Sylvia called me one night. "I want to do something special for you," she said. "Something just yours." I told her she didn't have to, I knew she wasn't well off, and she'd always been more about gestures than gifts. But then, 2 days before my birthday party, a package arrived. It was a sleek black box wrapped in ribbon. Inside was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, a deep burgundy velvet dress. Off the shoulder, the stitching delicate and perfect, the kind of thing that whispers money without screaming it. I looked up the tag online. Carolina Herrera. Retail price, $2,400. I checked the tag twice. The note that came with it just said, "To my quiet star. Light them up. Love, Grandma." I was in shock. I tried it on in my bedroom, and for the first time in my life, I felt like a woman, not a background character. I didn't show my mom. Or Delia. Something inside me told me to keep it to myself until the party. When the night of the party arrived, I got dressed at my friend Lila's house. She nearly cried when she saw me in the dress. "You look like old Hollywood," she said. Like, devastatingly elegant. The venue was simple, a rented community hall with twinkle lights, balloons, and Costco platters. Everyone was already there when I walked in. The music was soft, people mingling. I felt the heat of eyes on me as I stepped inside. People actually stopped talking when they saw me. Delia was standing near the punch bowl, laughing with some of her old high school friends. When she turned and saw me, her smile dropped like someone had hit a kill switch. Her eyes moved from my heels to my neckline. Then she looked at our mom, and then back at me. And then she snapped. In the middle of the room, in front of our cousins, family friends, my awkward crush from art class, Delia pointed at me and yelled, "She doesn't deserve that." People froze. Delia stormed forward. "Where the hell did you get that dress?" I tried to keep calm. "Grandma sent it to me." Delia's voice got louder. You? You get a designer dress? Seriously? This is a joke, right?" I couldn't even respond. I just stood there, heart thudding in my ears. And that's when my mom walked over, flustered, trying to calm Delia down. And instead of diffusing the situation, she made it infinitely worse. "She bought it for her because she felt guilty, okay?" Delia's brows knitted. "Guilty about what?" My mom looked pale. She glanced around at the stunned faces in the room and said, in a voice far too loud, "Because Marin's not your dad's biological daughter." The room felt like it tipped sideways. My hands went cold. My knees felt like they might give out. Someone actually dropped a drink nearby and didn't bother to pick it up. I stared at her, my own mother, who looked like she'd just realized what she said. "What?" Delia asked. "I had an affair." "A long time ago," Mom muttered. "It was. I thought it was over. I didn't think Warren would stay. But he did. And we never told anyone. Only Grandma knew." I think the worst part wasn't even the fact that I wasn't my father's daughter. It was that everyone found out at the same time I did. I remember looking over at my dad, who had gone stiff. His jaw was locked, his face unreadable. He didn't say a word. Delia just shook her head. "Of course. Of course this happens on your birthday. You steal everything, even our family." She stormed out. I didn't cry until I got home. What happened after that night didn't unfold in one dramatic swoop like some movie. There was no immediate healing, no grand gestures, no warm reconciliations. What came instead was silence. Thick, uncomfortable, and constant. Delia didn't come home that night. She stayed at our aunt's place in Springfield for almost a week. She didn't respond to texts or calls, not even from Mom. Dad didn't talk to Mom at all. He left early for work, came back late, slept in the guest room. The house felt like it was breathing through a straw. I was the only one in it who wasn't pretending this was just a bad week. I remember waking up the morning after the party and realizing the dress was still crumpled on my bedroom floor. It looked nothing like it had the day before. The velvet was wrinkled, the shimmer dulled by spilled soda and sweat. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at it, wondering how something so beautiful could be at the center of so much destruction. Mom didn't talk to me about what she said until the third day. She knocked on my bedroom door, hesitantly. "Marin? Can we talk?" I didn't look at her. I was painting something on a stretched canvas, I don't even remember what, just that I needed to keep my hands moving. She stood in the doorway, wringing her fingers the way she always did when she was nervous. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I didn't plan to say it like that. I didn't even plan to say it at all. I panicked." Delia was screaming, and I was exhausted. "Anne. You told an entire room of people I'm not Dad's daughter," I said without looking up. "You didn't just tell me. You told everyone." She sat down on the edge of my bed. I know I screwed it up. But Marin, you need to understand, this secret's been choking me for years. Every time I looked at you and saw how different you were from your dad, I felt this guilt in my chest." "Did he know?" I asked. Mom nodded slowly. I told him when you were about 4. He wanted to leave. I begged him not to. I said I'd never see the man again, the one from the bar, the musician. I promised him I'd never lie about anything else. So he stayed, but not really. No, she said quietly. He didn't. That was the most honest I'd ever heard her be. For the first time, she looked like someone who wasn't pretending to be holding it all together. She looked tired. Human. In the days that followed, more pieces started to fall apart. Delia still wouldn't come home. Dad barely spoke to anyone. Grandma Sylvia called and asked to see me. I went to her condo in Cannon Beach that weekend, just to get away from the fog of discomfort choking our house. When I got there, she hugged me tightly, so tightly I thought she'd never let go. I'm so sorry it happened like that, she whispered into my hair. That woman, your mother, has never been good with the truth. I pulled back. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't think it was my place, she said. And part of me hoped your mother would grow a spine and tell you herself, when you were old enough to handle it with dignity. Not like that. I nodded. I didn't even know what questions to ask. Who was my father? What did he look like? Did I have siblings? Did he know about me? Your biological father's name was Colin, Grandma said, as if reading my mind. Colin Ames. He played guitar in a band that used to pass through town. Your mom met him one night after a shift at the hospital. She said it was just a fling. He moved on before she even knew she was pregnant. I tried to picture him. But the truth is, he was just a ghost. A shadow behind the curtain of my life. He was kind, she added. I met him once. Briefly. But he had the saddest eyes I've ever seen. Like someone who knew the world was too much for him. I stayed with Grandma for a week. She let me sleep late, paint on her balcony, and eat microwave popcorn for dinner. We didn't talk much, but she was present. In a way no one else in my family had ever managed to be. Back home, things weren't much better. Mom had started trying to cook elaborate meals, like somehow an herb-roasted chicken could erase the damage. Dad ate silently. Delia eventually returned, but we avoided each other like plague victims at opposite ends of the dinner table. I overheard her talking to a friend on the phone one night. She said, "It's not that I hate her. It's just, how do you look at your sister the same way after finding out she's not really your sister?" I felt that like a slap. I wanted to yell at her, "I'm still me." I hadn't changed. I hadn't asked to be born from a lie. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to give her more reasons to resent me. School felt pointless. My grades didn't slip, but I stopped going to art club. I turned down an invitation to apply to a summer program at RISD. I just didn't care. I couldn't care. Every moment felt like I was watching my life through a window. Then, one Saturday morning, Dad asked me to go for a drive with him. We hadn't spoken directly since the party. He was already in the car, engine running, eyes staring ahead. I got in without saying anything. We drove in silence for almost 40 minutes, out past the city, toward a lake I vaguely remembered from when I was younger. When we finally parked, he turned off the ignition and stared out at the water. I was angry for a long time, he said. Not just about your mom. About life. About how things turned out. I used to think if I just kept moving, work, chores, sleep, I wouldn't have to feel anything. I didn't know what to say, so I waited. When she told me about you, he continued, I thought I could never look at you the same. But then you turned 5, and you made me a Father's Day card with glitter and pipe cleaners, and you wrote to the best dad in the whole world. I cried in the bathroom. My throat tightened. I stayed because I am your dad, Marin. Blood or not. But I won't lie and say I handled it well. I let the resentment rot me from the inside. And I let Delia think she was the only one who mattered because I didn't know how to handle loving both of you differently. He finally looked at me. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to respond. I just nodded. And cried quietly into my sleeve. We sat there for a long time. Neither of us said much else. But something shifted. After that, things didn't magically heal. But they started to move. Slowly. Like thawing ice. Delia and I didn't talk much, but we were civil. Mom tried to make things right, mostly with awkward attempts at family game night. Dad was warmer, more present. And I started applying to art schools. Grandma encouraged me every step of the way. She even took me to Chicago to visit SAIC. I didn't think I'd get in, but I did. Before I left for school, Delia came into my room for the first time in months. She saw the burgundy dress hanging behind my door and made a face. "You still have that thing?" she asked. I looked at it. Then at her. "Yeah. Still fits." She paused. Then, without sarcasm, said, "It looked good on you." That night. I mean, it wasn't the dress's fault. It wasn't an apology. But it was something. And something, back then, felt like a miracle. Chicago was unlike anything I'd ever known. There was a rawness to it, a constant buzz in the air, like the city itself never stopped thinking. I'd never lived outside of Oregon before, and now here I was, surrounded by noise, people, and buildings that felt like they belonged in a movie scene. I arrived a week before classes began at the School of the Art Institute, with a single suitcase, my sketchbooks, and a little framed photo of Grandma Sylvia and me that she made me promise I'd keep near my desk. She called every other day that first month. Always at night, when the city was quiet and I was too tired to feel homesick. "You remember what I told you, right?" she'd say. "That I'm a candle," I'd reply. "Damn right you are. They don't see you coming. But you'll burn longer than all of them." It helped, having that voice in my ear. When the assignments piled up, when critiques made me want to crawl under a blanket and disappear, when I missed Oregon and even, weirdly, the awkward silence of my family's kitchen. I didn't talk to Delia much those first few months. She liked my photos on Instagram occasionally, but that was it. Once she replied to a story of mine, a boomerang of me painting late at night, with "looks intense LOL." I just sent a smiley face back. Baby steps, I guess. Back home, things had shifted in ways I wasn't prepared for. My mom had started therapy. Voluntarily. She even mentioned it during one of our rare calls, like she was testing the waters with me. "I've been seeing someone," she said one Sunday afternoon, like she was talking about a new shampoo. "A therapist?" I asked. "Yeah. Her name's Vera. She's brutal. In a good way." It surprised me. Mom had always been the type to push through things, to bury feelings under routines, schedules, and casseroles. The fact that she was doing the work made me soften a little toward her. Dad and I had developed a rhythm of occasional texts. He'd send me random articles about art theft or obscure painters. I'd reply with photos of my latest projects or sarcastic commentary about city rats. It was never deep, but it was consistent. That felt like progress. But it was Grandma Sylvia who kept me grounded. She was my anchor. Every phone call ended with "Keep creating, sweetheart. The world needs your fire." She was the first person I called when I got asked to display a piece at a student showcase during my second semester. It was a massive acrylic painting, abstract, angry, textured like scar tissue. I called it Inheritance. Everyone asked what it meant. "It's about secrets," I'd say. Grandma cried when I told her I was showing it. "I hope one day your mother walks through a gallery and sees it. Doesn't even realize it's about her," she said. But the joy was short-lived. About a month later, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was thin, trembling. "It's Grandma," she said. "She's sick. Really sick. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. She hadn't told anyone. Not even me. I flew home the next day. She looked smaller. Frail. But her eyes were still sharp, still that same burning blue. She waved me into her hospital room like it was a private lounge and told the nurse to give us space. "You're still my star," she said. "I'm sorry I didn't know sooner," I whispered, barely holding back tears. "I didn't want you to worry. You were doing so well." She asked about school, about my art, about whether the boys in Chicago were more interesting than the ones in Eugene. I tried to laugh, but my throat was thick. Before I left that night, she handed me a small velvet box. "I was going to give this to you when you turned 25. But I think you'll need it sooner." Inside was a silver locket. I'd never seen it before. "It was your real father's," she said softly. "Colin. He gave it to me before he left. I kept it. Always meant to give it to you." I ran my fingers over the worn engraving. It was subtle, just the initial CA and a date. "I don't remember him," I said. "You wouldn't. But you have his eyes. And his softness. And your mom's strength, whether you like it or not." She passed away 2 weeks later. The funeral was small, like she wanted. By the sea. Just family and a few old friends. I read a poem. Delia cried. My mom barely held it together. Afterward, we sat on the beach for hours. Me, Mom, Delia, and Dad. Just sitting. Saying nothing. Watching the tide go in and out like some ancient heartbeat. That night, Delia knocked on my door. She stood there in her pajamas, looking unsure. "Can I come in?" "Yeah," I said. She sat on the edge of my bed, eyes fixed on the carpet. "She really loved you," she said. "Grandma." "She loved you too," I replied, even if it didn't always feel that way. "She didn't show it the same. But I know she did. I think I was just too angry to see it." We sat in silence for a while. "I hated you," she said eventually. "After the party. I hated that you had this secret connection with her. That she saw you more than she saw me." "I didn't steal that," I said, carefully. "I didn't ask for any of this." "I know," she said. "But when everything came out, it felt like our family cracked right down the middle, and you got the better side." "You think I got the better side?" I asked, actually shocked. "You got truth," she said. "Even if it was painful. You got Grandma. You got out. You became someone. And I just stayed here. Pretending nothing changed." There was a long pause. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled something out. It was a photo, one from my 18th birthday party. The only one that had been taken of me alone. I was mid-laugh, the velvet dress catching the light just right. Someone must have caught it before the yelling started. "I found it in Grandma's things," Delia said. "She'd put it in a little frame. She kept it on her nightstand." I felt something crack open in my chest. "Thanks," I whispered, taking it carefully. Delia stood, stretched, and started toward the door. Before she left, she turned back. "You know," she said, "that dress really did look like it was made for you." And then she was gone. It's strange how life moves after the dramatic parts end. You think there's going to be a clean resolution, a straight path from heartbreak to healing. But what actually happens is quieter, slower, and, sometimes, much more poetic than anything you could plan. After Grandma Sylvia's funeral and that late-night talk with Delia, things began shifting in subtle, irreversible ways. Delia and I weren't best friends. That wasn't going to happen overnight, and I didn't expect it to. But something had thawed. We were no longer two women trying to occupy opposite ends of a battlefield. We were just women. Sisters. Figuring it out. Mom stayed in therapy. She started opening up more, stopped trying to sweep things under rugs. Dad started going to sessions with her. Occasionally, they would send updates to me like I was the family therapist. I appreciated the honesty, though. For the first time in a long time, no one was pretending. I finished school in Chicago with honors and stayed in the city after graduation. I worked part-time at a gallery while building my portfolio and taking commissions. Slowly, I started getting recognition. Local write-ups. A small solo show. Nothing viral. Nothing massive. But enough. Enough to feel like I had something real to hold on to. Then came the opportunity. A well-known art magazine reached out. They wanted to do a feature on young female artists who used personal trauma in their work. They'd seen my painting Inheritance, the one I'd created after my 18th birthday, and wanted it as the centerpiece of the article. I agreed. Nervous, but proud. When the article came out, it blew up far more than I expected. It was raw, and honest, and unapologetically me. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. I told the story through paint and metaphor and expression. But people got it. They understood the betrayal, the identity fracture, the painful reconstruction of self. Delia read it. She sent a message that just said, "I knew it was about us. And you were right to tell it." Mom read it too. She didn't say anything directly, but I got a card in the mail a week later. Inside, a photo of me as a toddler in Dad's lap, both of us grinning, covered in what looked like paint or food. The note inside was simple. He chose you every day, even when he didn't know how to show it. But the best part, the satisfying, ironic twist that still makes me smile today, came a few months later. Delia had started a job at a local PR firm in Portland. She'd gotten good at the networking game, polished her image, and tried to leave the chaos of our family in the past. But one day, she reached out with a strange request. "So, weird coincidence," she wrote in a text. "One of our clients is hosting a charity gala and they want an artist to do a live piece during the event. Their top pick? You." I stared at the message. She continued. "I didn't know until the team pulled your name from the shortlist." I almost laughed. I told them we were sort of related. They said, and I quote, "Oh wow, she's amazing. She's exactly the kind of edgy, authentic artist we need." At first, I was hesitant. It felt like walking into enemy territory. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, I wasn't the underdog anymore. I wasn't the awkward girl in the corner of the room while my sister commanded the spotlight. Now, the spotlight was mine. And it wasn't borrowed. I'd earned it. So I said yes. The night of the gala was surreal. Held at a glass-walled venue overlooking the Willamette River, the place was packed with Portland's art elite, influencers, corporate execs trying to appear cultured. I wore a tailored black jumpsuit with velvet heels. Not the dress, I'd left that behind. But it felt like the same energy. Just more refined. More powerful. Delia greeted me at the entrance. Her eyes scanned me, then flicked down to my name tag, Marin Calloway, featured artist. There was a flicker of pride in her smile, even if her jaw clenched slightly. "You look great," she said. "This is a big deal." I nodded. "I know." As the night progressed, I started the piece, a large canvas mounted on a backlit wall, where people could watch as it came to life. It was abstract, but layered. Vivid reds and muted grays, cracks filled in with gold leaf, a shape in the center that looked almost like a heart but wasn't. More like a broken compass. People whispered and pointed. They filmed. They tagged. Delia hovered near the bar, watching. Later that night, the event's host came up to me, gushing. "That piece," she said, "it's like watching a story unfold without words." Who inspired it? I smiled and glanced at Delia across the room. "My family," I said simply. "Every beautiful, broken, complicated bit of them." The woman laughed, not knowing the depth behind it. "They must be proud." I turned back to my painting, brush in hand, heart steady. "They are. In their own way." After the gala, Delia found me near the valet station. You know, she said, there was a time I'd have hated watching you get all this attention. And now? I asked. She shrugged. Now I just want to make sure they spell your name right. We both laughed, for real this time. And here's the part that still makes me feel like the universe does, in fact, have a sense of humor. A few months later, I got a call from an old teacher at my high school. They wanted to include one of my pieces in a permanent art display at the school. A tribute to students who had gone on to do something creative with their lives. I sent them the original inheritance piece. And the dedication plate? It reads, "To the girl in the background. May you always be seen." I know revenge isn't always about getting back at someone. Sometimes, it's about rising in a way that makes the pain worth it. Not because they hurt you, but because you learned how to alchemize that pain into something no one can take away. I didn't destroy anyone. I didn't need to. I became someone. And that, I think, is the most satisfying revenge of all.